Hello. Live More, Lose More, episode 19. Balling. We're going to talk cheat meals today. Something, a phrase that most people have heard, have probably used to explain things they're eating when they shouldn't be, and might not fully understand what they are and where they fit into dieting. So we're going to go on with that. You might have heard a few different terms for it. Right. Talk about cheat meals, Scott.
Okay, hello everyone. So it's not really a term I've ever used myself. I don't think I've used it with clients. Clients have mentioned it before. Some coaches hate the word, some coaches still use it. Have you ever used it?
Yeah, a while ago, but not recently.
So it's sort of come from bodybuilding. It's still used in bodybuilding circles. To a degree in the industry, it's sort of frowned upon using it nowadays. But so a cheat meal or a cheat day is basically seen as obviously one meal sort of off your diet. So it's come from clean eating basically. So like Monday to Friday, you'll eat your clean meals or whatever you want to call them, of like chicken and broccoli or chicken and rice. And then once a week, normally on a weekend, you'll have a treat meal or a cheat meal or a cheat day or whatever, which is normally, well, whatever you want, a higher calorie meal or a higher calorie day of sort of junk food. Now, the term is sort of become frowned upon because it can build bad relationships with food. If you're seeing something as cheating on a diet or good and bad foods, then it can create bad relationships with those kind of foods, and especially with the general population, it's not really what we're aiming for. We're aiming for obviously good food relationships, flexibility, and building things around your lifestyle. And labelling things with certain names and stuff like that isn't ideal for this population. Now, like, I'm not asked what you call it, whether it's a cheat meal, cheat day, treat. You know, people get caught up on all this, and to be honest, it can be a useful tool. You can go low calorie during the week, have a higher calorie meal at the weekend, and as long as you're in a calorie deficit, which is where the issue comes in at some point, you will still lose weight. If the client is happy calling that a cheat meal, then go for it. I couldn't care less. But again, like I mentioned before, if it's creating bad relationships with foods, then you need to look at different things. Now, as I mentioned in regards to still being in a calorie deficit, that's where the issue comes into it. People can starve themselves all week, and then this cheat meal comes along and it becomes a 5,000 calorie meal and it knocks them out of a deficit for the week. Or the other issue is they have a cheat meal, they think, fucking hell, this tastes nice, and then that cheat meal turns into a cheat weekend. Yeah, do you want to...
I mean, Scott says about 5,000 calories there as well in a cheat meal. That's
just breakfast. Yeah.
That's pretty easily done by a lot of people. A lot of people's cheat meals will be Domino's or...
Yeah.
So there'll be Domino's, there'll be dips, there'll be cookies, there'll be all sorts that goes into it. A couple of beers, maybe some full fat Coke, and it soon adds up.
Yeah. And what is a Domino's pit? I think a medium Domino's is about 2,000 calories-ish. So...
if we've created a 500 calorie deficit on the rest of the days... So for 5 days we created a 500 calorie, that's 2,500 down, and then on that day you've banged in a 2,000 calorie pizza plus your normal food as well. You're soon eating into any progress that we're making, and that the rough ideas of the 3,500 calories and the 500 calorie deficit have been about a pound of fat. Now that's 1 pound if you've kept that. So if you've taken back into that, you've not lost a pound. It scales off, and I get it mentally. I think, because of the clean eating, it was more of a mental break on it. It was dieting was seen as torturous and hard work and real suffering and deprivation, and we're just eating these really clean, boring foods all the time. So then we need a release from that, and you do need a release from that. You need some food, and you need something. Otherwise, you do create even worse habits of just being terrified of eating these foods. But we've both spoken in the past about when we diet and how we diet in the 80-20 rule and things like that, about fitting something you enjoy into most days of your food. I know when you diet, you normally have a bar of chocolate with your coffees. I like a bar of chocolate. I love burgers, so I generally fit burgers into my diet and things. But people would see that as a cheat meal, but I'll eat burgers as part of my diet because it's a calorie deficit. So then I don't restrict myself from these things. So then don't crave them so much at the weekend. Don't need this massive cheat meal where I go all out and I make myself feel sick because of I'm just overindulgent my one chance for the week to get everything I enjoy into one meal. And then I undo all my hard work through the week. If you just have the awareness of what's actually in these cheat meals, you can make things fit that you enjoy into your normal diet. You don't need to save up all the calories and then try and smash them out in one go. Yes, it's nice to have a release from a diet, but we generally do that every day. Like if we're dieting, there's always something we enjoy. And we don't suffer, we don't sit here and eat food we don't like, we eat food we enjoy. Alright, it might not be the nicest food, like might not be what we'd go out and pay a load of money for, but it's food we enjoy. I wouldn't come in to work every day and eat food that I don't like. It just negates the opportunity and the reason for the cheat meal, the old school eat clean for 6.5 days and have one massive meal that can undo all your hard work. And it just seems counterintuitive and it's obviously counterproductive to do that, because then you're fighting the same battle again the week after. And you've just eaten a load of foods you like, and then you're dieting on Monday morning and you hate your life again because you're deprived from all that food you enjoy. I'm not a fan of them. Can see where they come in mentally. Like I've had it with one client where it works really well, where we'd have one meal, but even then we counted that meal, we tracked it, we just made enough room for it, and he liked having a big meal on a Friday night. But that allowed him the flexibility that he liked. It's very old school. The cheat day is, almost impossible. If you do a full cheat day, so you get up and have a cheat breakfast, an indulgent breakfast, lunch and dinner.
You'd literally have to starve yourself for the rest of the week.
Yeah, you're not going to be losing weight. If you have one bad day, really bad day, an indulgent week, you're going to be banging in.
I suppose that
5, 6, 7,000 calories.
That would only work if you are counting your calories. If you want a day of 4,000 or 5,000 calories or 6 or whatever it is, to get away with that, I think you'd either have to count your calories and make sure it's spot on, or like I said, you are starving yourself more or less probably going 0 carb the whole week, just to allow for that excess of calories. One thing I was meant to mention earlier was it was also seen as boosting the metabolism. So you'd go all week, you'd diet, you'd be losing weight, and this cheat meal or cheat day would boost your metabolism. The body just doesn't work like that.
Your metabolism isn't slowing down over a 6-day period.
No. When you're losing weight, your metabolism's coming down anyway. That's just your body adapting. That happens. If we're going to go into that, there's things like leptin levels and stuff like that, which is a hunger hormone. To actually bring that back up, you're looking at in excess of 3 days of maintenance calories or more. The best way to do that would be to drop your fat really low and then increase your carbs. But from a cheat meal point of view and stuff like that, that just doesn't exist. Like Pete mentioned earlier, it's just giving you a mental break from your diet, which is a good thing. And the higher calories, as long as they're not too high, they're just replenishing glycogen stores just to give you that energy for the next few days. So you're getting a mental break and a boost of energy from the extra calories. So that's where the good side of it, and as I mentioned, the bad side of it is calling it a cheat meal, seeing foods as bad, creating bad relationships with certain foods. So there's a trade-off either way, really.
Yeah, just don't get too hung up on it. Like with all the stuff we always say, it's very balanced. If it works for you, having the relaxed, not cheat meal, but having a bigger meal at weekends, and that's fine, but you have to make room for that. don't think that because you've only eaten bad one day but dieted for 6, that automatically means you'll lose weight. You can undo a lot of hard work with a cheat meal and a cheat day, and is it really worth it? Just balance your diet a little bit better and have a deficit for the overall week, and it'll work a lot better. And it does take a little bit of willpower and a little bit of discipline to diet longer term, and to have the faith that if I just put a little bit of a cheat in here and there, a cheat treat here and there, it won't end my results, and it won't slow me down. And as Scott's saying there about leptin and metabolisms, and like that, we're talking leaner people. Like, don't worry when you're first starting. Don't get too hung up on changing your fat levels and your carb levels and things like that. Just get that calorie deficit in, and you're going to be alright. But if you're struggling, if you're having to set yourself up for a cheat meal and not losing weight, it's probably because your cheat meal's too big. And be the first place I'd look at attacking.
Yeah, or you're just not in a deficit.
Yeah, at all.
You're eating healthy Monday to Friday, think you're creating a deficit, then having your cheat meal, you may not even be in a deficit Monday to Friday. So it could be either way.
Yeah. Cheat meals, pretty much everything covered on them. Very old school.
It.
Yeah, we've done it, finished. Yeah, if you've got any more questions about it, give us a shout. I think we've pretty much covered everything and our thoughts on it. If you want to fit them into your diet, be aware that you can actually undo all your hard work. And is it worth it for a Domino's? Which isn't even a nice pizza.
Which is always yes. The answer is
crap
yes.
pizza. Right, we're going to do next. Scott's away to Vegas because he's going to eat a lot of cheat meals. He's going to come back fat, so you might not recognise him. But yeah, we'll do some exercises that you're probably doing wrong next week.
Oh yeah, we're not.
We were going to do it this week, but we just decided to do this. Yeah, so get in touch. Wish Scott a good holiday. I hope he loses loads of money.
If I don't make it back, it's been a pleasure speaking to you all.
Yeah, if I'm sat here on my own next week, things have gone drastically wrong in Vegas.
If I have died, just be safe in the knowledge that I've died a very happy man, covered in strawberry daiquiri.
See you later. Deli Alley wave.